Prepare to stand by to eject the core.
Prepare to eject the warp core. Authorization ECH Omega 42.
We've got to eject the core!
Ejection systems offline.
Warp ejection system enabled.
Eject the core.
Eject the core. Eject the warp core.
Computer, eject the warp core.
I just did.
Okay, so is it going here?
Yeah, eject the core!
Eject the Core! Welcome to the second episode of Eject the Core podcast, where Jeff and I talk about all things Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
Through a critical yet loving lens.
right, so it's done in jest, but it's done in love.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be breaking down our choices for where the movies rank, the original movies. We're going to do the original cast and the Next Generation cast. So those two groups of movies together. So there's 10 total movies in that
Right.
in that series. There are the 3 J.J. Abrams Bad Robot verse movies.
Yeah, if we got some time, we'll talk about this like at the end or something. But
Right. They don't really go with the whole narrative. See, like all of the movies, the 10 movies can kind of be viewed together. There's kind of a passing of the torch with Generations, obviously, and then
Right.
2009 was a reboot, so that's why we're kind of we might do a little bit at the end. We might rank, and say a few things about it. But today, right now, we're going to be sticking with the 10 Star Trek, the motion picture through Star Trek Nemesis.
So like the J.J. Abrams, I think it's called the Kelvin universe?
Kelvin timeline.
Kelvin timeline.
Right,
And
right.
so then I guess the other one is just like the prime timeline? The prime time?
Prime
Prime
time
timeline.
timeline. Something like that, yeah.
I can't remember. I knew it at one point and then
Yeah, you're probably right. Prime timeline or something like that. So, so I guess we'll go ahead and kick it off with we're going to go through all of the movies in order. We're going to
Right.
talk about them, Star Trek 1 to Star Trek 10, and we'll give you Jeff's ranking on each movie, my ranking on each movie, and then at the end we'll go through and each one of us will say
like what our top 10 all
right,
the
exactly.
way down was.
Yeah. So the first movie is Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Came out in 1979, I believe.
I think that's right, yeah.
Like I said in the previous episode, it was the only Star Trek movie that Gene Roddenberry had his direct creative hands on.
Right, and it pretty much sealed the fate of his directorial and executive producer.
It did. It definitely showed. It showed that he was in charge.
Yeah.
As great as Roddenberry is, I think I said something last episode about how I think he's a psychopath.
He is, yeah. You convinced me. He
Not in a
was
bad way,
psychopath.
not like out murdering people or anything like that. Just
No.
kind of, a little bit out there in the head, which
Little psycho.
the best creative minds really are.
True. And the motion picture was always marred by constant reshoots, script rewrites. He couldn't quite get it just how he wanted it.
Well, so what I've come to understand is that the motion picture was actually there was supposed to be a second Star Trek series before the Next Generation that included the original crew. And it was going to be called Second Phase or The Next Phase or something like that.
Yeah.
And instead of becoming a TV show, what they had for the TV show ended up basically becoming the motion picture.
And if I understand it correctly, too, like, I mean, you could argue he's like one of the main guys in the movie. He was like the new. Was he the new commander or something? The blonde guy.
Captain Decker.
Captain Decker, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Captain Decker was actually supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, like that actor was in talks to be in a TV show, a Star Trek TV show, and that's like how he and his character and everything ended up in part of that movie.
That could be, yeah. So.
It's like there's so
Decker-
much behind that movie. It's easy to like get it twisted up.
Decker got a bad rap in that movie.
You think so?
Oh yeah, he was in charge of the Enterprise. He was he oversaw the refit and everything like that. And then Kirk just comes in and shoves him out. He's like, "Well, sorry, Decker, I'm the captain now. Like you don't get to run the show."
True. Yeah, very true. Man. And you know what's interesting about this too? So it's something that I came to realize as I was like brushing up on some Star Trek lore. Prior to the Wrath of Khan, there was no actual set time when Star Trek took place. Like we didn't know. We didn't know which century it was taking place. So when I think back on that and I think about like the motion picture, and how completely twisted and bizarre it is, like it really does show like this could have been 500 more years in the future than when it actually takes place.
It was a trip. I recently watched some of it. I didn't watch all of it.
Yeah.
But I watched a little bit of it, and the person that just happened to be around watching it with me was like, "Wow, this is like an acid trip, isn't it?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I mean, Star Trek: The Motion Picture is definitely it's definitely something that you could watch in a altered mind state.
Yes.
And be like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm trying to remember way back in the day, my first girlfriend had a very specific like name. She would name all of the original Trek movies. So I think this one was Star Trek Acid Trip, then Star Trek Spock Die, Star Trek Spock Live, Star Trek Save the Whales.
Save the Whales.
Star Trek Suck.
Yeah. Star Trek just absolute garbage.
And I don't remember what she called Undiscovered Country, but it was something like
Star Trek Also Suck.
Star Trek Kirk in Prison or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I do remember she very specifically called this one Star Trek Acid Trip.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a trip, and you can tell that they really liked the computer generated stuff that they were able to produce for that movie, because there's one scene where they go to warp inside the solar system, and the engines are imbalanced, and it causes them to go into a wormhole. And like everything gets all trippy and shit.
Oh yeah.
But like the effects that they use when they go into warp, they've got these little rainbow fucking pixel line things that literally look like they came from like a cartoon or a video game or something. And I was like, man, this is not convincing. This is taking me out of the story. This is taking me out of my acid trip.
Yeah. Photon torpedoes.
Belay that order.
Oh wait. Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was a wild one.
It was a nuts kind of movie.
And that like 17-minute long sequence of Spock in a jetpack flying through the V'ger.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, but like any a hard 70s sci-fi movie, it's very long, it's very boring.
So I don't know if I should save this for Generations or if I should bring it up on this, because it kind of pertains to both.
Sure.
But after Generations, William Shatner wrote a book, a Star Trek book, where the Romulans and the Borg end up bringing Kirk back to life. But and it's supposed to take place after Generations, obviously.
Yeah.
But in that book, he postulates that Verger was actually sent by the Borg.
Really?
Yeah, and which I thought, and I couldn't remember where that came from because I remember reading that book when I was a kid, and I remember having that in my head that, oh yeah, Verger is from the Borg. That's somehow there's some kind of tie-in that, and V'ger, however you say it.
Yeah,
it's a compelling idea for sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, and what's interesting about it too that there has to be some aspect of like multidimensional or time travel when it comes to the V'ger entity, because even as far as like the rules of Star Trek go, the concept that it in 400 years, I think it's like 400 years, I don't know, maybe only like 300 years from when Voyager like left the solar system to now, it's this massive bloated, mindless AI
farting space cloud.
That's
how I took it. I was, because like every time it's on scene, it was
yeah. It just, even in Star Trek scope of like technology, there's got to be something more to it. The Borg thing, that sounds plausible. It was like maybe an early Borg prototype or something.
I mean, yeah, and it's a compelling idea. I don't think it was ever used for canon, but like the fact that Shatner wrote that and maybe it wasn't his idea, maybe he had people helping him write it or whatever.
Sure.
But like I give the guy props for that. That was a pretty good idea. So
sure, yeah.
Yeah, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, ranking for me, number 7.
Really?
Yeah.
That far down, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't a super big fan of that movie, man. Like it's it's entertaining to watch, but it's definitely not in my top list. It's one that I don't think that I would choose to watch it unless I had a reason to.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's just not that entertaining as far as I'm concerned.
So I put mine at 6. I wanted to rank it a lot higher because I have a lot of love for that movie. It reminds me of movies like Black Hole, like 1970s sci-fi, long, very drawn out, very artistic. And also the part that I really like about it is Star Trek: The Motion Picture is space horror.
Absolutely.
I mean, the scene with the transporter accident.
Oh yeah, no, and that was something that I was saying too, because I think you were in the room at that point when I was watching it. I said that when I was a kid and I saw that scene for the first time, it terrified me.
Yeah,
it scared the crap out of me. I was literally, I was like, oh my god, this is horror in Star Trek, and people are dying right there on the transporter pad. Like it was pretty terrifying.
Is her name Ilya?
I think so.
I think it was
yeah.
Ilya or Ilya. Ilya.
I don't know. The robotic bald chick.
The singer who died and she was married to R. Kelly, right? No, no. Sorry. All right, fuck it, whatever. Anyway, that joke didn't go anywhere. No. Okay, so, but the V'ger or whatever aspect of V'ger that like interfaces with her body because she dies,
right? Yeah,
and she's remade as this robot conglomeration thing. And it's like obliterated her consciousness aside from just like little like specks of her that's inside.
Right.
And even as a kid, I was like, that's fucked up.
Well, I think what else is fucked up about that is that like Decker can't cope and he still simps for her at the end. He's like, I gotta be with her. I gotta be with her.
Yeah. Oh
so
yeah.
He doesn't realize that she's just an empty shell powered by an artificial intelligence.
Yeah, he's going to be having sex with a giant farting space cloud.
I feel like that might be Elon Musk's future too. So.
I think you're probably fucking right. Yeah, so I say 6, but like it would if I'm in a mood to watch a movie like that, it ranks pretty high in that scope. But as far as Star Wars, Jesus
God
Christ.
damn, do you remember which show do you
know,
remember what this
I know.
podcast is about?
Man, I quit smoking and my brain is just mush right now. So as far as Star Trek movies go though, yeah, it's pretty low. It's about 6.
Sure. So next on the list is Wrath of Khan. Obviously, nobody contests that it's definitely one of the best, if not the best, Star Trek movie.
We'll find out.
To be made. I love this movie. I think that it's really great. It's really well done. One of my favorite things about this movie is the callback to Space Seed.
Right.
It was the first time in a Star Trek movie. Obviously, I mean, the motion picture didn't really call back to much other than the fact that the crew, and it was only Star Trek 2, so. But they call back to an episode of the original series called Space Seed. So for you Wrath of Khan fans out there, if you have not seen the original series episode called Space Seed, where Khan Noonien Singh is introduced, I highly recommend going back and watching that episode.
It's very worth it, yeah.
Very good. It lays down the groundwork and explains kind of the backstory of who Khan is and why he's even an adversary, like why he's such a great adversary. Yeah, and it was definitely, in my opinion, it was like a military skirmish.
Sure.
Like a Russian submarine and an American submarine kind of
movie, yeah.
Yeah, going at each other, and that whole scene where they're in the nebula and everything like that, and Khan's chasing him with the Reliant, and
it's a lot like The Hunt for Red October, but in space. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
It does have that kind of feel to it. Which I really liked.
There's aspects of it too that are really interesting that come from Space Seed. Like the historiosity of it is that Khan was one of a group of genetically enhanced super soldiers, but it wasn't just that he was like super smart and super fast or anything like that. Like at one point, they say in the episode that he ruled over a quarter of the goddamn Earth.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And he makes reference to how he was a king on Earth and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was like he was a dictator and a tyrant without any massacres and without any genocides, but out of pure brutality.
A benevolent dictator, not really benevolent, but
yeah. I mean, like he managed to be just savage enough to rule, but not so savage that he like turned into like, mass murder or something like that. They
Sure.
kind of like try and paint it that way so that you really respect Khan, but you also fear him because he's obviously dangerous.
Right.
Um,
Very, very good adversary. A very good foil for Kirk. if you
right.
will.
And Ricardo Montalban is a fantastic actor.
Absolutely.
He's really good.
I'm trying to think of any other aspects of that because wasn't they? I think that's the first movie where you see the Excelsior. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And they mention it and everything like that. So
That, if I'm not mistaken, that's like one of the. I think there had been a couple of like far shot images of other Federation starships, but a lot of times they just looked very similar to like the Enterprise.
right.
This is the very first time that you actually see like two Federation starships very distinctly different and like in the same shot.
Sure.
So that was pretty interesting. They use that same model. In everything.
Yeah, I mean, the Excelsior is used as the Enterprise B in Generations. I know that.
Wait, no, I don't think so.
I'm
I don't.
pretty sure I just read
I
that.
I
today.
thought that they. Well, I know it's in Generations, but I don't think it's actually the stand-in for the Enterprise B, because the Enterprise B has like that big fat bottom. It's got like it's thick.
Is it?
Yeah, it's thick.
See, I thought it was the same. I thought it was an Excelsior class. I honestly don't.
Yeah,
remember
I
100%
you know, probably the one that I have not watched in the longest time is actually Generations.
Yeah, I tried to put it on in preparation for the podcast, and I watched a little bit of it, but that movie's kind of hard to watch.
It's a bit hard to watch, yeah, which does affect its ranking. But
So.
Wrath of Khan, let's see. Famously, there was the whole aspect of like he recognizes Chekhov and Chekhov recognizes him.
Chekhov was never in that episode.
Right.
He wasn't even on the show yet. Yeah, I remember.
It was like 6 months later. He was in
Right.
the
Yeah,
show.
I remember reading that as well, and he's like, "I never forget a face, even though I've never seen yours."
Yeah.
Maybe it was in the Enterprise computer.
Yeah, something like that. I guess there was like there's two like theories. One I think came from Walter Koenig himself, and he was like Chekhov like cut in line for the bathroom in front of Khan or something on the ship. And
That's
then
why he never forgot him.
yeah. And one of the other ones, I don't know if it's like from a book or something, was that Chekhov was working security at the time, the character, obviously.
Right, not the actor.
And helped delay Khan a little bit into getting into engineering and Starseed, Spaceseed. And that kind of impressed Kirk, and that's actually how he ended up getting later promoted to bridge crew. So
Could be. So.
But little clever things like that I think are pretty interesting.
And that earworm thing, that earwig that crawls in and he's able to control, like that was used inside. Like that was the first time that something like that was used in sci-fi, and I feel like that was used a few times after that. Like people took, people borrowed that. Like, oh, bugs that can go in your ear and control your thoughts. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw that recently with Twin Peaks: The Return.
I still need to get up to that point.
Oh,
I think I'm still on season 1 or 2. I can't remember.
It's in episode 8 too, and episode 8 is just blah. So there is one very big problem with Wrath of Khan. Kirstie Alley.
Oh man.
I have such a hard time watching it now. I just watched it today because I wanted to give it a fair and honest opinion, because everybody, a lot of people are just like, Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek movie ever. I'm like, I don't know. So I went and I watched. I watched Spaceseed, and then I watched Wrath of Khan. I tried to watch them last night, so I watched them today. I can't get over Kirstie Alley.
So I will say this: like, at least it was hot Kirstie Alley.
Yeah.
It wasn't later in life Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, it's just if you spend any time on Twitter and you've ever come across Kirstie Alley's Twitter feed, like,
you just got to view her as she was a completely a different human being back then. Not even the same person.
I guess.
But she was recast. Obviously, her character was recast in the following 2 movies. Something that I found out today, and it's not 100% canon, but like there's the whole nerd argument thing. Saavik was supposed to be half Romulan.
Yes, I heard that.
I didn't know that, and they don't make any reference to it in any of the movies.
Yep, it was something that it was put into the character like in the early drafts or something like that, and then they just never ended up doing anything with it in the movies. But I mean, the character itself is fine. I think that the entry that Kirstie Alley does is fine. But who is the actress that plays her in Search for Spock? I don't remember.
Robin something. Starts
Okay.
with a G, I think. Man, I was just reading about it. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
I think she's better. She was
Oh,
really
absolutely.
good.
I think that she's better too.
I think we'll get to that too, but I think she's actually probably one of the best parts of that movie. Her performance is fantastic. But yeah, Wrath of Khan.
So go ahead. I'll let you do your ranking first.
Yeah, I got them here on my phone. I wasn't smart and wrote them down on paper.
I mean, I'm
so
just archaic.
this might shock you, but Wrath of Khan is number 4.
Wow, that does shock me.
Yeah, number 4.
Wow,
There are
number
3 movies I think are better than Wrath of Khan.
That's insane. So I ranked
Yeah.
Wrath of Khan number 2. For the longest time, I considered Wrath of Khan the best Star Trek movie, the high watermark for Star Trek movies.
Sure.
And it's really good, but in doing this, I took a real hard, long look at how I felt about Star Trek, and yeah, I got to give it to you. So it's definitely up there. It's definitely obviously in both of our higher halves. So
Sure. There are problems I have with Wrath of Khan. Very specific ones. I think that the dying of Spock is really well done and incredibly heroic. But it has lost a lot of its luster for me. Just the fact that they then are like, okay, well, now we're going to bring it back.
in the very next movie.
Yeah. You know, and that always was something that bothered me as a kid. So that was enough to knock it down one ranking. But on top of that, really what knocks it down is just the entries that mean more to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about how it feels for you. So
Right.
yeah. So I number 2. So
That's fair.
next movie up is Search for Spock. So The Search for Spock was the first movie directed by Leonard Nimoy.
Yep. And that was the condition for him to come back.
Right. And what a lot of people didn't realize, I guess that like one of the executives at Paramount thought that Leonard Nimoy had made the call in Wrath of Khan for his character to die.
It wasn't?
No, it wasn't Nimoy's call at all. In fact, that was part of the reason that Nimoy wanted to do Search for Spock was because he wanted to bring the character back.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't either.
I always believed that as well, that he was like, he didn't want to play the character anymore, and that's why he only agreed to do it if they killed him off. And then they wanted him back, so they gave him a shit ton of money and the ability to do. Wow, that's crazy. So whose decision was it to kill Spock in the first place?
Maybe Harv Bennett's. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Harv Bennett, a lot of people don't know that Harv Bennett played a massive role in a lot of these movies getting made.
Yeah.
Huge.
Absolutely. I mean, he was basically the Roddenberry after Roddenberry.
Right.
Until Rick Berman.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
So, very, very big creative person behind the scenes. So, yeah, it just kind of a recap on Search for Spock. So it picks up immediately after the events of Wrath of Khan. Like you could literally watch them back to back as like one giant movie. In fact, and Harv Bennett was responsible for the recap at the beginning of Search for Spock, where they have the scenes from Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
And something else that I noticed, that I noticed this, they did the same thing in Encounter at Farpoint, but they're watching the flight recorder from engineering in Search for Spock, and it's literally just replaying Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Like Kirk is sitting there like telling the thing to rewind, and it even starts out with static on the screen, like they're literally watching a VHS copy of Wrath of Khan in Search for Spock.
That's right.
So I thought that was kind of funny. Klingon Doc Brown.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's probably my favorite part of Search for Spock. Christopher Lloyd as a Klingon captain, which is wild because usually Klingons are pretty bulky. They're supposed to be very intimidating, and he is just so thin. but somehow manages to command a fantastic performance.
He does so well.
So good. He got Klingon pronunciations down really good. He has a full-size fucking Targ with him.
So something about Klingon pronunciations about this movie. So and you know what? It may have been that I think that what happened is off of this movie they based the Klingon language.
Oh,
and
okay.
then 6, the movie where they're doing, because it was one or the other, where at one point like the actors can't even get the words right, so they decided it was easier to change the Klingon language than it was to go back and make the actors actually pronounce the words right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would believe it, actually.
So
I would totally believe it.
Kind of interesting tidbit on the genesis of the Klingon language there.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So, big plot point from Search for Spock is Kirk's son gets moidled.
Yeah. Brian?
Marcus is his last name.
Yeah.
David Marcus.
David Marcus,
Yeah,
that's
David
right.
Marcus.
Yeah. Because his ex is Carol Marcus?
Yes.
Carol Marcus, yeah.
Carol Marcus, who I'll get to that in Generations when we get there. But
Yeah. But it's a major plot point that Kirk has a son and that Kirk's son gets killed and it comes back.
And not only is it a major plot point in this movie, but it's a major plot point for Kirk going forward. I mean, even obviously in Undiscovered Country, it's a huge plot point. But even in when I came in, you were watching The Final Frontier,
right?
You know, obviously number 1 on both of our lists. Spoiler alert. So you were watching that, and there's even a scene where they say something about how the Klingons aren't too fond of Kirk, and he makes a point to say that he's not fond of them either. So definitely something that affects the character of Kirk going forward, and something that, kudos to William Shatner for showing that side of him, of being upset. I mean, because honestly, you can't just be altruistic. Like if somebody murders your kid, you're probably going to hold some prejudice against them. So,
absolutely, space prejudices.
Yeah, not a terrible movie overall.
Space prejudices.
It's kind of interesting. They've got to.
Sorry.
So no, it's all right. So the Enterprise gets blowed up. I forgot about that. Right?
Yeah. So the Genesis device gets launched. No. The planet itself.
Yeah, the planet is the Genesis.
Yeah.
It's the Genesis planet.
The Genesis turns an entire nebula into a planet.
Right.
And then it also recreates Spock, but not his mind, just his body.
Just his body, right.
But the planet is crazy and chaotic, and it's falling apart.
Because David apparently used like frog DNA with the dinosaur DNA or something like that.
The dinosaur DNA.
We filled parts with frogs. Cuttlefish too, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no. So something about how David skipped something, didn't do things the right way.
Pizza when he should have French fried.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the planet's unstable and it's breaking up, of course. But
the Klingons want the Genesis device, so they've come to try and take it. And they get into a battle with the Enterprise. And then, honestly, that was the conclusion of this movie and how they managed to beat the Klingons is honestly fantastic.
It is. Yeah, it shows the thought process, the tactical mind.
Yeah, of Kirk. Yeah. Kirk is brilliant. He's got a doomed vessel. He knows they're going to board it, so set the auto destruct.
Right.
It's just perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Something that I read too in a trivia tidbit was apparently the self-destruct code for the Enterprise is the same as it was in. I guess there's an episode of the original series where they activate the self-destruct.
Really?
And it's the same code.
Oh wow!
So kind of an interesting little tidbit there.
Little callback. The lady who plays Savik, she's great. Christopher Lloyd is great. Overall, though, I mean, the movie is good. The movie's good. It's worth a watch. The action is pretty great. The Klingons are pretty great. But this, for me, is a pretty mid-grade Star Trek movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's closer to good than it is bad. But it's probably the movie that I think of the least when I think of Star Trek movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not it really just feels like the end of Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
It just feels like the conclusion of the Wrath of
It's
Khan.
like the middle of in the middle of two movies.
Yeah, it is. I mean, honestly, because you could really take those 3 movies, actually, the 2, 3, and 4, and just watch
6 hour long movie.
all in order. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's all the same. So,
I forgot one more thing though that's fantastic about it. DeForest Kelly's performance when he's like losing his
Spock.
mind and he's got Spock's like consciousness in his head. That was really good.
That was really good. And I know that they ADR Leonard Nimoy's voice over it, but like those scenes where you're hearing Leonard Nimoy, but it's DeForest Kelly, it's pretty convincing. You're like,
tries to Vulcan neck pinch people.
It doesn't work.
It was good, man.
It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It wasn't obviously. I mean, it was middle of the road for me. I ranked it at 5.
Let's see. Where did I rank you? I ranked it at 5 as well. Actually, yeah.
So just kind of an okay, little jaunt around the space with the old crew and getting Spock back to life and getting that all figured out. So,
Yep.
Oh, and then of course, after the search for Spock, then we have to take a voyage home.
We do, and it's Star Trek Save the Whales.
Star Trek Save the Whales.
That's right.
So the voyage home starts out. They're in a Klingon ship because they obviously had to figure out something when the Enterprise blew up. So they outsmart the Klingons. They take over their ship, and they are on their way home when all the power starts going out.
All over the planet.
All over the galaxy. Everywhere they get like you get too close to this giant cylinder phallus of a space probe that makes weird ass noises and stuff, and it just shuts your ship down, man.
It's a giant solid cylinder with a little energy beam and a fucking spinning sphere.
Yeah, it's got that little ball that comes out.
It's got one little testicle.
It's got one tiny little testicle and then a giant shaft.
Yeah. It's very strange.
Yeah. So and I thought that it was kind of weird. Like I understand they're trying to communicate with the spoiler alert. They're trying to communicate with whales.
Yeah, I know.
For those of you that haven't seen it, the suspense, I know. So what I thought was weird was there's no follow up as to like why the fuck that probe even came to Earth. Like they come,
right?
They talk to the whales and then they just turn around and hightail it out of there.
Yeah,
they're
that's
done.
it. That's it.
No reveal of like who's in this thing or like where it's coming from or why this intelligence from space wants to talk to humpback whales.
Nope, no idea.
So yeah, the space probe comes, starts shutting shit down. Kirk and Spock and the crew are the only ones smart enough to realize that it's making whale song.
Right.
That it's trying to talk to a whale. And
all those oceanographers.
Yeah, there's literally like a whole planet full of people on Earth. Like,
everybody stand back.
What's going on?
I'm a marine biologist. I got this. No, none of that. It's Captain, it appears they're making the sound similar to a humpback whale.
And if my calculations are correct, we can't answer this call because they're extinct.
That's right.
So their solution is to go back in time, slingshot around the sun.
Yep.
And go back to. They end up going to whatever the current year is when the movie came out.
It's like
1986 or
I don't know,
84 or something like that. It doesn't even matter. But they go back to the 80s. And something real convenient for the production crew to be able to like not have to build sets to like let's just go to SeaWorld.
Yeah.
So
is it Journey Home?
The Voyage Home.
Voyage Home. God damn.
Jeff's
Voyage
looking up the year
Home. Yeah, I gotta know though because it's pretty important. 1986. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So 1986. Girl with the big curly hair. Another time girlfriend for Kirk.
Yep, that's true. They land the Klingon bird of prey cloaked
in a park in
Golden Gate Park.
Is it Golden Gate Park?
It's Golden Gate Park.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it because like they land on the trash can and it just flattens.
Oh
You
yeah,
don't
yeah,
see
yeah.
anything.
The effects in it were really good. It was really, really good how they did that.
They were definitely better than the motion picture.
Yeah, and I don't think necessarily that they saved a whole lot of money by shooting on location, but there was something very charming about this movie. Not just because like I was born in the '80s, but like when you watch the original series, they have all these. We've talked about it already, where they had going down to Mafia Planet and Native American Planet
Right.
and whatever. So it's kind of like a callback to that, but it was also very relatable because it's like current year, blah blah blah, and there's a whole lot of social signaling to like these whales went extinct because we didn't take care of the planet, we didn't take care of our ecology, and it's cute and it's interesting in the way that they do it. But also the things that really stand out that make it even more fun is the fact that they're in a stolen Klingon ship.
Right. Right.
They don't have the comforts and like the technology of like this flagship of the Enterprise. They're in this like they barely know how to even work the goddamn thing.
Right, they're in a rinky old Klingon bird of prey that it's basically it's akin to them being in like like another like a Russian submarine
Right.
versus an American one.
Yeah.
Kind of that same deal. You have to make do with the enemy ship. You've got to figure out you've got to use your wits and this technology and figure it out one way or another.
It's clever how they do it, and having these characters that are coming from such a very vastly different philosophical era as well, like having to interact. I mean, even just not just the broader commentary on it, but like Spock and Kirk are on a bus. And there's a punk playing, like blasting music on a ghetto
And he
blaster.
breaks his radio after the dude flips him off. And I love the I don't think I know it's around the same time in the movie. I don't think it's that same scene, but like somebody curses at Kirk and then he goes, "Well, double damn on you," or something like that.
Yeah, double down on you. They explain away Spock being peculiar because he took too much LDS.
LDS in the 70s or the 60s, yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. And then Jesus. And then we are looking for the nuclear vessels.
Yeah.
Can you tell us where the nuclear vessels are?
Yeah,
And,
middle of the Cold War,
yeah.
you got a Russian-sounding dude asking after nuclear technology. That's good.
And then they think that he's a Russian spy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
James Doohan is Scotty selling the secret to transparent aluminum.
So that was something that always kind of bugged me. Like, I understand Kirk played fast and loose with the Prime Directive.
Sure.
But, like, that was clearly fucking with the timeline.
Oh, yeah.
Just 100%. Like, oh, that's akin to what Spock did in the reboot Star Trek, where he gave Scotty the transwarp beaming theory.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing, man. Like, you are altering history at that point.
That's right.
And like Scotty's he's like, well, how do we know that he didn't come up with it? Like, come on, man. Come on. I mean, you've got access to all kinds of history on your computer. I think that you probably know. You're looking the other way because it's convenient and you want to get home.
I kind of like it because it kind of shows that really only captains and like science-minded people give a shit about the Prime Directive.
Everybody else is like, you know what? This thing just hinders us on a daily basis, and I'm trying to get home.
Yep.
Like, I want to see my wife and my kids. I need to get the fuck out of here.
You have to find ways to be seen as a miracle worker.
Right.
So, yeah, but it's James Doohan charmingly trying to talk into a mouse, and I don't know. It's great.
It is pretty good. They do a really good job of being out of the element. You
Yes.
know? Like and I've got to imagine that that's hard for an actor because you're literally just walking around, just out and about, but you've got to pretend to be this person from like 400 years in the future.
Yeah.
And they do a pretty good job, like.
You know what's really wild about this movie too? So there are two main aspects that I think are really important to nail down when you're talking about the voyage home. Number one is that without this, every single member of that ship would be fucked. fucked. They stole the Enterprise to go and save Spock.
You're right. So if they hadn't saved the whales, they would have all been court-martialed.
Right. They literally saved the entire
I think
damn
that they were
quadrant.
technically court-martialed, but like they wouldn't have gotten off the way that they did.
Right. And I mean, like the Kirk does get demoted down to captain
Right,
because
but
of all that.
I mean, he also wants to be demoted down
Yeah,
to
yeah,
captain,
yeah,
though,
yeah.
at that point.
But, you know, like this, without this movie, you can't just throw this movie away in the timeline or anything like that. It's just like, well, it was unnecessary. It's not unnecessary. I mean, fantastic events happen to get them to where they're at. But the other thing that's really interesting, for how good this movie is, there's no villain.
That's true. There really isn't.
There's
no villain.
None.
No, I mean, I guess the space probe could be considered the villain.
I mean, that's just plot.
I would have really loved to see like some sentient whales sitting behind computers and shit, like you know, doing some villainy shit. You know, like
Sure.
that might have made it a little bit better. Nah, probably not.
Thin
but-
mustaches. you know.
twirling them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very good movie.
Yes.
Overall, I think it definitely ranked it. So I had it at number 4. It was better than The Search for Spock, in my opinion.
Okay.
So,
I put it at number 3.
huh.
I like this movie more than I like Wrath of Khan.
I mean, to each their own.
Yeah, sure.
I like Wrath of Khan better, but I definitely don't dislike The Voyage Home at all.
Yeah.
And at first when I started watching it, when I did a rewatch of it recently, I was like, man, this is kind of corny. But then I realized watching some of the other ones that I can watch The Voyage Home a lot easier than I can watch some of the other ones.
Yes,
So-
absolutely. Like Voyage Home, it's not the best out of them, but I think it's probably one of the easiest to watch. And I think, weren't we, when we were talking about it before, like the other day, was this the one that we were saying, like pretty much anybody, even if they haven't really watched a Star Trek movie before, as long as they can kind of catch up to what's happening, can enjoy this?
Yeah, sure. I think it's definitely a movie that you can watch without really needing to know a whole lot of background
Be
on
like
Star
a
Trek.
hardcore Trek.
Because honestly, I mean, there's no Enterprise in the beginning of the movie.
Right.
There's no communicating to Starfleet. It's literally just the crew on their way home in the bird of prey trying to get it figured out. Like you could come into it not knowing Star Trek. Sure, absolutely.
All right.
So yeah. So moving on, I know that this one's going to be your number 1.
Oh, man.
There's no question about it.
Man.
So Star Trek V, The Final Frontier,
Sure wasn't.
directed by none other than William Shatner,
Mm-hmm.
which
According to legend, there was always this clause. I think it was after Wrath of Khan. There was a clause that if Leonard Nimoy got a pay increase, then they had to give just as much of a pay increase to Shatner.
That sounds like something he would have put in his contract.
Right, and then because of a pay dispute that happened with The Voyage Home, to basically soothe it over, they were like, "Well, William, why don't you just direct this one then?" And he accepted, and that's kind of like how that happened. He had to talk the executive producer guy,
Harv Bennett.
He had to talk Harv Bennett into coming back because Harv started to feel like he wasn't really part of the Star Trek family. And he was really tired of doing Star Trek films and everything, but Shatner managed to convince him back. Sorry, Harv.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Bad call there.
Well, okay. Do you remember the plot enough to describe it? I mean, I do.
I'll let you take this one. I mean, I understand it. I remember that like there's a distress call and they've got to bring the Enterprise out of mothballs to go save some hostages.
Well, okay. All right. So there's a whole subplot about what's going on with the Enterprise. It's not really that important, but it's a new Enterprise.
Right.
It's the Enterprise A.
Right, that they gave him at the end of the voyage home. That's right.
Right. It's all messed up, and they're trying to get it under operating, parameters. And at the time, everybody's on shore leave. Everybody's just trying to like relax after all the crazy shit that's happened. There is a planet called Nimbus 3, and it's supposed to be like the center of the free universe. It was promoted to be like the paradise planet, the planet of galactic peace. It was a stunt by the Klingons, Romulans, and the Federation to try and broker like a planet for peace, and where all of the people that wanted to could come and settle and make a grand civilization. It's a shithole, total shithole. It's absolutely just run down. Nothing can grow. Everybody there is like a smuggler. And
So it's like North Korea then. Where it's presented to be one way, but it's actually another.
Right. I mean, they don't really develop it that much in the story that it matters. Nothing really matters in this movie. But there is.
Yeah, that's basically what I remember about this movie. Is that nothing fucking matters.
Not really. So there's this guy. His name is Sybok. Sybok is Spock's brother, and he is a full-blooded Vulcan, whereas Spock is half Vulcan.
So all of you Discovery fans, you guys remember Sybok, right?
Yeah, they never brought him back. They should have.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting.
Maybe Sybok went to the future too, and Michael Burnham will discover her half-brother Sybok.
Maybe. Wouldn't that be just...
Oh, that would be so great.
Wouldn't that be...
He would teach her to have some emotion.
A thing. Oh, man. Oh, God. Yeah, that's what Michael Burnham needs more of, is emotion. I was just thinking that, actually. Man.
Her full-blooded Vulcan brother that's the emotional one.
You know what I'm tired of with Michael Burnham? Tired of her making logical decisions. She needs to just cut loose sometime.
Right.
All right. Anyway,
she needs to go visit God.
Yeah, maybe. So Sybok is a Vulcan radical. He embraces emotion. He doesn't hide it. He's a powerful psychic, massively powerful. So much so that he almost has a way of like psychically brainwashing people. And he is on a quest to find Shakari. Shakari is supposed to be the planet where God lives.
So it's like Valhalla or Shangri-La or something like that.
You know where they got the name Shakari? The original person who was supposed to play Sybok, they were trying to get Sean Connery. And they couldn't get. This is true. This is 100% true.
Oh my God!
They couldn't get Sean Connery, and they're like, well, "What should we?"
Shakari. Oh my God!
Let's call it Shakari.
Oh, that's terrible. That's garbage.
That's true.
But I will say that I can actually see the resemblance of Sean Connery and the guy that plays Sybok. So they did good at finding a guy that kind of looks like Sean Connery.
Fun fact: that guy is the stepson to Lucille Ball and Rick Arnaz.
Really?
Yeah. He married their daughter.
Huh. Son-in-law, not stepson then.
Yeah, son-in-law. Sorry. And famously, Lucille Ball is one of the reasons why Star Trek even got made.
Her production company produced the first season, so it all comes back around. We have Lucille Ball to thank for Sybok.
Man. So yeah, and that's basically the whole thing. Is Sybok takes over the Enterprise, and they go to pass through the Great Barrier, which is apparently a big energy field in the center of the galaxy
that we never hear about again
No.
in Star Trek ever, not once.
It doesn't come up.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's.
And then they go.
I think that they broke the barrier, and then it just ceased to exist after that. So
Yeah,
the barrier's gone.
It's like the hymen, really. It's like the hymen of the galaxy. And once it's been broken, like you just don't think about it ever again.
There's no more. That's it.
It's like whatever.
Kirk broke the galaxy's hymen.
If somebody was gonna do it, though, let's be honest,
It was gonna be Kirk.
It was gonna be Kirk.
Oh, man.
Helped by two Vulcans.
Oh, God.
All right, so and McCoy acting, crazy while the whole thing's happening.
Right.
So yeah, and then they go and they find God, quote unquote.
Right. Who ends up being closer to like the devil or something.
Well, it's just an alien.
Oh, okay.
That's all it is. But there is something fascinating about that, which I'll talk about in a minute. But so how long we were just watching it right before we came in to record?
It's been probably so the last time that I saw it was definitely before my daughter was born. So more than 10 years.
Wow,
maybe
yeah.
like 12 years or something like that.
Wow.
I remember I was living in Lincoln City, and we did my buddy and I did a marathon of all of the Trek movies because he had all of them. And I think that might have been the first time that I ever saw 5 all the way through.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Once was enough on that movie for me. I was like, yeah, this is good. I'm good.
Oh man, the Final Frontier is such a fascinating movie because some of the concepts in it are fantastic. I really like the guy who plays Sybok. I thought Sybok's whole character was really interesting. I think the story is really interesting.
I did too. It was not executed well.
No,
The execution was really garbage. I don't know that I necessarily like the idea of like an alien pretending to be God or whatever.
Yeah.
Like we could have left God out of it.
Sure. Yeah,
Made
that was one of the biggest problems that the producers had. Like not the producer, the studio had, was they were like, why are you trying to make this into like some big philosophical thing? This is Star Trek. Which, I mean,
Star Trek is
arguably-
philosophical to a certain degree, but
yeah, but it's not spiritual, so
right.
philosophical.
It's more subtle than that, and it
Right.
wasn't really subtle.
William Shatner, in the scene where you first meet Cyborg, he's riding a horse. William Shatner wanted it to be a unicorn. That's 100% true. That is 100%
man.
true. I'm not
Oh,
fucking around.
man.
I'm serious.
So is this? I feel like maybe this came about because like around this time, like did William Shatner get born again or something?
Oh, I
or-
don't think he got born again, but I think this is around when he first started writing Tech War. And I don't know if you've ever read any Tech War or anything like that. They're not bad. They're not bad. I mean, he's not a bad writer, but like he was just getting wacky, man.
Yeah.
He's just getting really super wacky.
Starting to lose it. So, as far as the rank, well, we need to talk about you were super excited to see that dance. Like,
Okay,
the
yeah.
one thing that Jeff was waiting for on the Final Frontier.
So, according to legend, it was Harv. Wait, fuck, what's his name?
Harv Bennett.
Harv Bennett, yeah. Harv Bennett just was he pitched to the studio. He's like, "Well, hey, how about we have Uhura do an exotic fan dance to distract the bad guys." And they were like, "Huh, that's something to think about." And he said it as a joke. And they were like, "You know what we should do?" And that's why that happened.
Oh man, see, I really feel like that's the one part of that movie where I was like, did Gene have his hand in this? Was that
Right.
a Gene Roddenberry move? Because like
Right.
that seems like a Gene Roddenberry call right
He
there.
did have a lot more to do with this movie than most of the other ones in the original, aside from the motion picture, obviously. But yeah, he had a lot of creative input actually in this one. Uhura does an exotic fan dance. She is Nichelle Nichols is a very accomplished singer and dancer. So she did the dance and she did great. You know, I mean, she's very old, so it's kind of like, however, they dubbed over her singing, and she was furious.
Oh man.
Furious at that.
Yeah, as probably should be, but I mean, who knows how it sounded though? You know, like
Right.
maybe it didn't sound great because a lot of people like I sing sometimes and it doesn't sound fantastic, but if I'm like, yeah, it's really good, like I could see how people would be like, nah, we're gonna.
She performed like some of her own vocals in the original Trek series too, and she had a beautiful voice. I don't know. It just seems like it was just a dumb decision, and there was really no reason for it. But one other thing that's really important to point out about this movie, and it actually made me like it more. There is, in some supplementary materials, I don't know if it's necessarily canon. I don't think it's considered necessarily canon, but it is canon for me now, after having heard this theory. It might even be in a book. I don't know. God, the alien that's posing as God, we know in the movie is trapped there. It's his prison.
Right.
He can't leave.
Right.
Who imprisoned him was the Q continuum.
Huh.
It was another near omnipotent being that ended up coming to our universe, or to our galaxy, or universe. I'm not even sure exactly how big the whole scope of it goes, but basically ended up running into the Q continuum, and they were like, no. And he was like, no. And they got into a fight, and he lost. And so they imprisoned him on that planet.
That would have made the movie a lot better,
Right.
but I don't think that Q was a thing, obviously, when that movie came out.
Well,
so.
nope, that's not true. That's not true. That's the other thing.
Oh yeah, because I guess if the last movie came out in '86, Voyage Home, then yeah, because
This came out in 89.
yeah, Next Generation started in '87, '88, so Q was a thing.
When you watch this movie, when they move through the corridors, it's actually the Next Generation sets.
You know what? I noticed that, and I noticed it with the next movie as well.
Yep.
Because and we'll go into that on the next one. But
Yeah.
yeah. So anything else for Voyage Home, or you want to give it your ranking?
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and give my ranking. In Voyage Home, Final Frontier.
Final Frontier. Sorry.
It's not the worst one. I did not rank it 10. I ranked it number 9.
See, since you said that, I think I know which one your number 10 is.
Yeah.
But
I've been screaming about it.
Yeah, I did rank it number 10. I think that it's a dog shit movie. Sorry to say, any of you Final Frontier fans, but I'm not a fan of that movie at all.
I love the story. It's just
there's-
as a movie, it's terrible.
There's a scene where Kirk has like some Catwoman on his back, and he just lifts her up over his head and fucking hurls her across the room. And I was like, man, I didn't realize I was watching a Marvel movie.
Yeah, well, so that was one thing that a lot of the people were commenting on when they were making it, is they were happy that Shatner was bringing back like the physicality aspect of Star Trek, Star Trek, and they really, really dug it. The only problem is like as
80 fucking years old.
well, yeah, and also like it's a cat woman that has 3 boobs. It's a furry with 3 boobies, and he throws her into an aquarium full of like electric eels or some shit. I don't know.
I feel like he was taking notes from what's that movie on Mars with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we can put 3 boobs in Star Trek.
Yeah, why not?
Find a way to do it.
Fuck it.
Yeah. So number 10 for me, number 9 for Jeff. And that brings us right along to The Undiscovered Country.
Yes.
Star Trek 6. I'm not sure who directed that one. I didn't look into it beforehand.
I think it might be Nimoy. I was just looking at it. I know Nimoy executive
You're right.
produced it.
I think you're right. I think it was Nimoy because I remember reading that he directed.
No,
no.
It's directed by Nicholas Mayer.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
And
but it's executive produced.
Nicholas
by Nimoy.
Mayer is the one who directed Wrath of Khan. I
Yes, it
believe.
is.
So, Undiscovered Country. The Enterprise gets called to escort a Klingon ship into Federation space to sign the treaty, the treaty between the Klingons and the Federation. And Kirk is obviously still biased from the murder of his son.
Yep.
So during the whole diplomatic mission, and that's something that you see a lot of in the Next Generation.
Yeah,
And
a lot of diplomacy.
Yeah, that's kind of the first time. I mean, there's some diplomacy, I guess, in the original series and stuff, but like it's the first time that you really see like Kirk acting like a diplomat or being forced, I guess, to act like a diplomat from Starfleet.
Yeah.
He's clearly against it, doesn't want to do it, but he's doing his duty or whatever. So some people stage something. The Klingon Chancellor gets murdered.
Gets assassinated.
Pink blood and
Pink
zero G.
Yep.
Some pretty bad CGI. Kirk gets arrested. And
Kirk and Bones. Get arrested.
Yeah, they get arrested for murdering the Chancellor, and Spock has to defy orders to prove
to get him out. Yeah, and then they have to crack open a big plot.
Yep.
Big conspiracy plot.
Right. Didn't it end up being like the Chancellor's daughter or something like that?
No. Well, sort of. No. It wasn't her. It was Chang. Chang, along with some Federation people.
Oh, that was the
actually.
guy. That was the bald Klingon with like the jewelry.
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
Who recites Shakespeare
Right.
while he battles.
Yeah, and it says that you should hear it in the native Klingon or something like that.
Yeah, in the original.
Yeah,
Klingon.
in the original Klingon. Like Shakespeare wrote his plays in Klingon. I had no idea. That's so weird.
I knew that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So
yeah. So this movie is fantastic.
you think so?
I do.
Really?
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. It's my number 1.
Oh man.
Yeah.
There is a huge contrast here because this movie was number 8 for me.
Really?
I was
Wow.
bored as shit watching this movie.
Not me.
I did not like it.
Not me, man.
And I got to be honest, like the diplomatic episodes of The Next Generation have never been my favorite. Like I get
Sure.
it. There's a conspiracy, there's a plot, whatever, blah blah blah. It wasn't my cup of tea.
Sure. I'll go through the reasons why I really like it. Number 1, I love Klingons. Anything Klingons, especially when it's not just black and white Klingons. Christopher Lloyd, he's a goofy bad guy.
Sure.
But in this one, Chang is menacing. He's terrifying, and he's got finesse. He's got mental acuity. He's deadly, like Khan is deadly.
See, and that's what I was going to say is that he felt like a rehash of Khan to me. And that was kind of my issue with it. I was like, well, he's just a carbon copy of Khan.
I suppose to a certain extent. Also the cast is incredible in this. The president of the Federation is Kurtwood Smith.
Isn't he like the weird alien looking dude with like the white hair?
With the white hair, yeah. That's Red Foreman.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No way.
You dumbass. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
man.
Kurtwood Smith, dude.
I had no idea.
Also played Terrence Bodiger in RoboCop.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, no, dude, Kurtwood Smith is fucking
Yeah,
amazing.
he's a great actor. I didn't realize under all that makeup that was him, though.
Yeah.
So.
Let's see. I loved the whole sequence of them trying to make peace. I loved the struggle of Kirk, trying to overcome his hatred. You know.
Sure. Yeah.
The first time, or not the first time you get to see Michael. No.
No, it is Michael Dorn. Well, it's obviously not the first time because that movie was made after the
Next Generation started.
But yeah, Michael Dorn plays
a Klingon.
Klingon lawyer,
Yep.
right? Yeah, he's the defense lawyer for Kirk and Bones.
Kirk and Bones, yeah.
And I was gonna research this. I was going to specifically look this up so that I could say it in the podcast, but I didn't look it up. I do seem to remember that they made that character like one of Worf's ancestors.
Oh,
or something like
yeah,
that
yeah.
in canon. I
Sure.
don't know his name. Didn't look it up, so I cannot verify that or anything like that. But I feel like I remember.
I think that's
at
sort of like
point,
extended universe canon.
At
kind
some
of
point,
thing,
I remember reading something like that. So
I loved Repente, the dilithium mines. I thought that whole set piece was incredible. It was really cool. I really like Iman in that movie, because she's fucking fine as hell.
The shapeshifter chick, the one that ends
Yeah.
up being like a giant furry monster thing.
Oh, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah,
Fuck
you're-
it.
Look, she looks like a woman for right now. That's all that matters.
I mean, fuck. I'm a freak. Whatever. It's cool.
Like, let her change back and forth. No big deal.
But there is one of the really, really awesome parts of this movie too, and that's Kim Cattrall.
Oh, as the Romulan posing as a Vulcan.
Well, actually, no. She's just a Vulcan.
Really?
Yeah, she's just a Vulcan. So, Lieutenant Valeris, originally, it was going to be Savik. It was going to be Savik. And Savik was going to basically betray her Federation principles because she knew that war was inevitable anyway. I'm glad that they didn't go with it. The reason why they didn't end up going with it was when they offered the role of Kim Cattrall. She's like, I'm not going to play the third person playing the same character, and I've been trying to be in a Star Trek movie for years. She was almost a Klingon in, I want to say, Star Trek 3. And before that, she originally auditioned for Savik before Kirstie Alley got it. So yeah, she's amazing in it.
She's really
incredible.
good. I think that it would have been better if they made it Savik.
Maybe.
It would have been more of a, because like Savik was a character who was not in any of the shows. Like, she was created for the movies, but then after, what is it, the Voyage Home, the very beginning of the Voyage Home, you just never see her again.
Yeah, I think she stays on Vulcan.
Yeah, I think that it would have been a smart move. And granted, like, I understand why Kim Cattrall, wanted to make that call, but I think that it might have been a little bit deeper of a callback.
Sure.
It might have been bringing it all around or whatnot. So, but yeah, definitely not my favorite movie.
I love it.
Hey, to each their own. Star Trek is different things for different people, and that's one of the things that we appreciate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's because like I like the action parts of Wrath of Khan, but I also really do like the political intrigue and the almost like prison escape aspect to it. I like.
So
that.
did I say that it was number 9 or number 8? Because it's number 8 for me.
Number 8 for you.
Number
okay.
8 for
yeah,
me.
number 1 for me.
Sorry. So
Crazy.
after the Undiscovered Country, which was the last of the original series crew, well, not technically the last because they're in the next movie, but the next movie is Generations, which they started production on that basically like right after All Good Things wrapped. So
All Good Things.
All Good Things is the ending, the 2-part ending of the season finale of The Next Generation.
Of the series finale?
Of the series finale, yes.
Really?
Yeah, so...
But I thought it came out while Next Generation was still on the air.
No, Generations came out...
No, that's right. That's right. It did come out after the series wrapped.
Yeah,
right. I'm
yeah.
remembering a very specific plot point that yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know you're right.
So one of my big critiques with Generations is that it does not feel like a movie to me.
No.
It feels like an episode of The Next Generation, and not necessarily a good one. Um,
Yeah.
So in Generations, we start out. You're back in Kirk's day, and we're on board the Enterprise B with Captain Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah. Wow.
and Kirk and Scotty and Chekhov are all there to see off the new Enterprise.
Sure.
And something that I read that I found out recently was the roles of Chekhov and Scotty were both supposed to be. The role of Chekhov was supposed to be Bones.
Yep.
And the role of Scotty was supposed to be Spock.
Yep.
Leonard Nimoy was offered an acting part in the movie, and he was also offered the director's chair, and he turned down both.
Yeah, he was done.
Yeah, which is a smart move.
Yeah.
DeForest Kelley could not get insurance. His health was so bad that at that point that he couldn't get
Yeah.
insured to be on set.
Well, he was in ill health like 7 years prior when they were filming.
Encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah, well, yeah, Encounter at Farpoint, but I mean, he also then went on to do
Some other
Undiscovered
movies,
Country
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
But even during that movie, he was not in good health at
Right.
all. Yeah.
He was going downhill at that point. Yeah. So we got Scotty and Chekhov instead, which it's fine, whatever.
Sure.
It didn't really make much of a difference. Let me get to because I've got some notes for Generations here. Yeah. So.
Malcolm.
Do what?
I was just gonna say Malcolm McDowell was really good in it.
Yeah, no. So Malcolm McDowell, did you know that he is the uncle of the guy that plays Bashir in real life?
Really?
Yes, he is the actor's uncle.
He's Alexander Siddig's uncle.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that. That's fascinating. Cool.
Yeah. The line "Time is the fire in which we burn." He liked that line so much he had it etched into that watch that he carried around in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. No, he was really good. So in the very beginning scene where they're christening the Enterprise B, I think it would have been a really telling sign if they just had the bottle bounce off the hull without shattering. Should be like, well, this is how this movie's gonna go, just so you know.
Oh man.
Funk.
Yeah.
Oh shit, something's wrong here.
Wow.
Yeah, Nimoy refused to star or direct. It was the first movie to have its own promotional website.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Back
Okay.
in the early days of the internet. I think it was 97 that movie came out.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Wow.
One of my notes just says the Nexus is dumb.
Yeah, the Nexus is very dumb. I mean, the concept, like as far as a plot device, is fine. The concept is that like there's this space ribbon that runs through the fucking universe, and if you get trapped into it, you basically get put inside your own version of like heaven.
Lucid dreaming is how I would describe it.
Yeah.
You get to lucid dream for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Just
for eternity.
yeah, you
like,
do whatever you want. Like,
it's a metaphor for heaven.
yes.
That's what it is.
Right. It's stupid though. It's really you can't fly a ship into it. You have to be on a planet, which doesn't.
That doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't
understand.
know.
And not only that, like they give you these rules, but Guinan was on a ship,
Yeah.
and like she's in the Nexus.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Kirk was on a ship. He's in the Nexus. So
Yeah.
apparently, it still works that way. Like they break their own rules that they make for the movie. It doesn't. It's
But
dumb.
for Malcolm McDowell to be a villain, you can only be on a planet, and you then have to use like suns going supernova to direct the ribbon.
Right, you got to change the gravity of the solar system to be able to get it to come to the planet for you.
Right. Yeah. Very convoluted. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But whatever. Long story short, that's the whole thing that's going on, and he's trying to get back to the Nexus. And because of the events that happen, Picard ends up in the Nexus.
Right. And so Picard is able to meet Kirk, and they're able to go on this adventure together.
Yep.
And then Kirk dies.
And then Kirk dies.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it was a bad movie. It wasn't good. I think that they
God.
missed an opportunity with Tim Russ. He plays a bridge crew member on the Enterprise B. But
That's
he's
right.
human.
That's
If
right.
they would have just put some Vulcan ears on him, they could have said that it was Tuvok.
Sure.
Because Tuvok was a Vulcan, he was alive and in Starfleet at that point. Or
True.
if you guys want to go out there and have it be your headcanon that like he was on an undercover mission where he had to pose as a human and
there you go.
surgically altered his ears or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, no. So that it has it was directed by the same person who directed yesterday's Enterprise, the episode.
Interesting. Okay.
Which I think is another reason why maybe it has the feel of a television episode rather than a movie.
Yeah.
So
there are some things about it that I do like. I mean, when I look back on it now, seeing Picard and Kirk team up is cartoony, but it's charming. At the time, I thought it was dog shit.
See, that's the thing is at the time I thought it was cool because like I
Well,
remember
no.
I remember seeing this in the movie in theaters, and like I was still pretty young at that point. Like I said, I'm a couple years younger than you, so it seemed perfectly cool. Like Picard and Kirk are teaming up or whatever. When I look back on it now, I'm like, man, this was not necessary. This was maybe it was the only way that they thought that they could get people to go see it in the theaters or something like that. But
maybe
I'm not like I see that scene now. I'm just like,
Well, I mean, so we understand now that this is just kind of like a passing off of the torch kind of gesture, and they had managed to do it between DS9 and Next Generation fine during the shows, but at this point there was 6 original series movies. And they thought that they were probably going to be able to make at least 6, maybe more, Next Generation movies. Yeah. My God, they were wrong.
No.
There are reasons.
Yeah, there's out of the Next Generation movies, there's 1, maybe 2 that should have been made.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. Yeah,
this was not one of them.
No, this is not one of them. Especially, man. Parts that really stand out as terrible is Data and his emotion chip.
Life forms, you precious little life forms. Yeah, no, that was dumb.
Terrible.
That was so stupid.
Terrible. Probably the only actor that I think I actually like in Generations was Jonathan Frakes. I think he did a fine job.
He didn't really do much, though.
I know, but that's
because he was hardly in the movie.
Yeah, but he was great.
Yeah,
he was super great.
Yeah.
And seeing the Enterprise D die was great.
It was. Honestly, that was probably the most memorable scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, because I didn't want them to just decommission the Enterprise D. It needed to die.
Right.
It needed to have like a point, and it needed to like get blowed up.
Yeah.
And like it was good. I mean, it crushed me to see when I was a kid. I had like huge fucking toys with Enterprise D
me
and
too,
shit.
man. Me too.
So I mean, it hurt, but I'm glad they did it.
Something about that movie, where every time that I watch Beyond, Beyond has almost the exact same scene of the Enterprise getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Where like the saucer comes and crashes like that and everything. And I maybe they were like, let's take the one good part of Generations and put that in Beyond. But
why not?
We might talk about that a little bit here later. So
yeah.
I believe I know where it ranks for you, but I'll go ahead and let you do first.
Yeah. So my ranking for Generations is oh my God, 7.
7, really?
7, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, there are 3 that I think are worse.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I ranked Generations number 9. That movie was garbage.
Wait. Hang on a second. So it's for you on the bottom 3 is Undiscovered Country, then Generations, and then Final Frontier. Wow.
Well, so the Final Frontier is number 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Generations and then Undiscovered Country.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are my bottom 3.
Wow. Damn.
The next movie that came after that is First Contact.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot say anything bad about this movie. I'm not even gonna wait. Like, it's my number 1.
I could say something bad about it.
Go ahead.
No, I mean we'll get to it in a minute.
So, no, absolutely my favorite, my favorite Star Trek movie, and my reasoning behind it is simply because of Patrick Stewart's acting and bringing back the Borg and that whole PTSD kind of like win at all
scene.
costs. It was the first movie with the Sovereign class Enterprise E, which
Yep.
is literally the sexiest ship I've ever seen on screen.
It's pretty incredible. It's a really good ship.
It really sucks that it wasn't part of a series where we only got 3 movies to see it, and like we didn't really get to see a whole lot of it.
Right.
But there's so many great things about that movie, in my opinion. One of the things that I really liked were all the cameos. So
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, Worf isn't a cameo, but they find a reason to bring him back. Avery
They always do.
Right. Avery Brooks actually had a deleted scene that was filmed for that movie. Where,
Really?
Yeah, where he is ordering Worf, I guess, to take the Defiant to go protect Earth or whatever it is.
Right,
But they
yeah,
ended up
yeah.
cutting it out. Somebody else that cameos in that movie is Nurse Alyssa Ogawa. Is that her last name?
Nurse Ogawa?
Yeah, so she has a part in that. Reginald is in it. Barclay is down on the planet with Zephyr Cochrane. So they bring back some minor characters from the Next Generation, which I thought was really awesome. But then they also bring Robert Picardo as the Doctor, because Beverly activates the EMH
yep.
to distract from the Borg, and then Ethan Phillips has a cameo in the holodeck.
Really?
Yeah, he's the maitre d'.
That's
in the
right.
holodeck.
Oh man, that's
Yeah,
right.
So there's a lot of cameos in it. The character of Zephyr Cochrane,
James
James
Cromwell.
Cromwell, he was in a few episodes of The Next Generation
Yep.
as a veteran Star Trek actor. They almost got Tom Hanks to play that role.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that would have been wild.
It would have been wild. I think that it might have taken away from like the crew a little
Yeah,
bit. You know, like they would
yeah.
have been more focused on.
It would have been harder to get him to like film some cameo stuff for the later series and stuff too.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, the first.
James Cromwell is fucking awesome,
he
dude.
is. He's really good. Also, the first directorial debut of Jonathan Frakes.
That's right.
Jonathan Frakes directed First Contact, did a fucking phenomenal job.
Yes.
No question. He said that he prepared by watching 2001: A Space Odyssey, watching Alien,
I can see
watching some other like James Cameron movies and stuff like that. So apparently Ridley Scott, like they wanted Ridley Scott, but Ridley Scott turned it down, and then somebody else turned it down too, and then they were like, well, let's get Frakes to do it because he understands Star Trek.
Right. He did an amazing job.
He knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Some other things. Let me see.
In that one.
Oh, yeah, in that one, right. The other thing, the intricacies of it, because when they come to the past, and it's First Contact Day, the phase of the moon, they actually like went and predicted where the moon would be on April 5th, 2063. And like that's the phase of the moon that they use in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, another
That's
thing.
wild.
Cochrane points out the constellation's Leo, because Lily looks up and sees the Borg sphere, and she goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "That's the constellation Leo."
Right.
Leo would have been visible from Montana in April. Like they made sure, and not only that, but the
Wow.
constellation Leo is also where Wolf 359 is.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot
damn.
of intricacies, a lot of that really small, detailed nerd stuff that they don't really. I don't get my fill of that in any of the new Star Trek now.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
No,
it's-
there's nobody who cares who's that intricate enough.
It's a bunch of vomit and tracking
Yeah.
shots. They don't give a fuck about the there's no love in them like
No.
there is in this. Yeah, I'll agree with you. You know, First Contact is I think the last time anybody really loved Star Trek. I mean, like I think Enterprise came on after that. There was a little bit of Voyager left, and then there was Enterprise, and there was some love in it, but not that same kind of love.
Sure.
There's something really special that happened with First Contact. The story is incredible.
Well, it's an action movie too.
Yeah.
Like it's not just a Star Trek movie, but it is an action movie, and it's got some scary elements to it. You know, like
does.
there's some real fear type stuff, and it was in contrast to where Generations felt like an episode.
Yeah.
First Contact felt like a feature film.
It did. It felt like a real movie. It had very good structure. It paid off very, very well. Yeah, I mean, there's only one bad thing about First Contact.
Go ahead.
Literally everything that has to do with Data and Brent Spiner.
Yeah.
I hate everything that has to
So
do
you mean like
with
after
Data.
he gets captured by the Borg? You mean?
No, after The Next Generation was over, the TV show, everything that has ever had anything to do with Data has been awful.
I can't really disagree with you. Like Spiner should have maybe walked away at some point.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't really even know if it's his fault. I think the character at that point just got away from him. And when you're trying to do movies rather than a series, it's really hard to maintain the integrity of writing for Data as a serious character. And they tried their best. Jonathan Frakes did his best in First Contact, but it was just so clowny, like I'm gonna seduce Data by giving him skin.
Right. And then
What?
Yeah, and then the whole thing about how like Data was playing along with it and everything like that, and it seems really weird.
It did, and it didn't.
Yeah, those I try to look past that point.
Sure.
Try past that stuff when I grade the movie on a whole.
It's the only weak part for me. That's it.
It's not a very strong point, but I feel that the rest of the movie, like, and as far as all of the Trek movies go, it's still
Your favorite.
it's my number one.
Yeah.
It's not. It probably always will be. And like I said, I had to really think about it because like I was tied for Wrath of Khan and in First Contact, and it took me really really thinking about it and watching parts of both of them to go. I think it's got to be First Contact.
It's number 2 for me.
Yeah.
But it's under Undiscovered Country.
Hey man, it's all right. Like you like space diplomacy. That's fine.
I kind of do, man. I don't know. But yeah, and from there we go into the dark times.
Yes, and my rankings on these last two movies, I just kind of had to throw them in somewhere, and like so Nemesis is probably going to be like way higher than what people think that it probably should be. That I was just trying to, and I've got a little bit of reasoning for it, but we got to talk about Insurrection first.
Yes.
Hopefully we don't have to talk too long about Insurrection because it's not a good movie.
Yes, but there's so many great things to say about it because it's so bad. Insurrection is the worst Star Trek movie ever made.
It's pretty bad. Let's go take the captain's yacht out.
So okay, hang on.
So and it's called Insurrection, but it's more like Star Trek Insubordination, I think.
I guess I don't know what that fucking name came from. So we go from arguably one of the best Star Trek movies ever, directed by Jonathan Frakes, to one of the worst Star Trek movies ever,
directed by Jonathan Frakes. Yes.
Holy shit! And
Yeah.
this, in like how First Contact felt like a movie, this feels like an episode.
It does. It goes back to feeling like another episode.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what the problem is, but
It's not a compelling movie. It's not a compelling story. It's not.
Okay, I'll try and put it. Okay, here's the plot. There's this planet, and on this planet, it's surrounded by rings, and the rings keep everybody immortal. And apparently, they can stop time. That happens like 2 or 3 times, and nobody knows why, and they never explain it. But it's just like and they literally say when they're like, "Are you doing this?" And she's like, "Shh."
Stay in this moment with me.
Yeah, like shh.
Yeah.
The plot does not tell you, and it's not going to.
Nope.
Just shut the fuck up and eat your popcorn.
Right.
And
Data becomes a flotation device.
I'm getting there. So then, I fucking hate this movie so much. So a splinter off group of the Baku, that's the name of the people that live there, are now called the Sona. And they are the sons and daughters of the Baku. The
right.
Baku are immortal, and the Sona have to have constant plastic surgery to stretch their skin.
You don't find this out until like 3/4 of the way through the movie that they're the same race, because you've got like this race of people working with the Federation to like steal the radiation from the planet to like make everybody be able to take like go to the spa and do rejuvenation things and stuff. And
do an immortal.
Yeah, dude, we're gonna make ourselves immortal or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you find out later on that they're both the same race. That like at some point in their history, these people got exiled,
Right.
because they wanted believe in technology or something like that. I don't even remember.
Yeah, they want to like go explore or something, which is totally an understandable and totally innocuous fucking thing. But they were like, "Oh, well, then we kick you off of Immortal Planet. Fuck you."
Yeah. You can't come back. Sorry.
Yeah. There's a Starfleet admiral named Dougherty, who is all on board with this apparently because he's an evil piece of shit.
Because he's an admiral, and all of the admirals in the Next Generation are fucking evil.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, like 9 times out of 10.
And he had like 10 times in the movie he has to say Dougherty out, and it's the most obnoxious.
He does have a
irritating
weird way.
thing.
He talks like that though. There's other things that he says like that too. Yeah.
Picard, I want you out of the briar patch.
Yeah, he's the briar patch. Fucking
Motherfucker. Riker's good in it.
They isn't this the movie where they steer the Enterprise with a joystick?
Yeah.
And he shaves. He shaves.
Okay.
That's right.
Oh,
No. So that's
I forgot
right.
about that part.
Yeah, because
Oh,
that's
man,
where our intro came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he shaves his face because like him and Deanna are like they're feeling the effects of this planet and they're wanting to get their groove on or whatnot.
Yeah.
But he kisses Troy and she says yuck.
I kiss you and you say yuck?
I've never kissed you with a beard before.
So the next scene he's fucking fresh shaven and shit, trying to impress the girl.
Yeah, he simps out right away.
Yeah.
Let me get the move. Oh, she wants me to shave. I better get rid of this as fast as I can.
Worf has acne.
That's right,
great.
yeah.
That's fucking charming.
Which so I know that they explained it in First Contact. Do they ever explain it in the next 2 movies why Worf is back on the Enterprise and not at Deep Space Nine?
I don't know. I don't know.
We had to go and pick him up at Deep Space Nine because we knew we were going to make this movie.
And Data has apparently a flotation device.
Yeah, Data like loses his memory for a little bit, and they have to like hook a shuttle up to him and deactivate him, and then
by singing Rogers and Sullivan or whatever.
something like that.
Yeah. HMS Pinafore.
Yeah, I can't remember the
Yeah,
song.
they sing to Data, and Data is
that
shaken
distracts Data long enough that they're able to hook on and fucking outsmart him or whatever. Which, whatever, sure, why not?
Stupid.
And then he goes down into the bottom of a fucking reservoir, and because he doesn't float, he fucking has to turn himself into a fucking flotation device.
Yeah, he has air bladders, and
it's bad. And some kid follows him around the whole time, and like
he's got a little CGI slug looking thing, and it's fucking dumb, and it's just dumb. The whole thing is fucking.
It's a really stupid movie.
Yeah.
So my ranking for it, like I said, probably these last 2 are probably higher than they should be, but I ranked it number 6. It's still in the bottom 5. It was more entertaining than some of the original series movies for me.
It's actually painful for me to try and watch that movie.
Is it really?
It is actually painful.
See, it's not. It's like I'll rewatch it. You know, like
you should.
No. I'm saying I had like I watched part of it before we did this.
Okay.
But I'm saying that like I'll still rewatch it. Like it's not something that I won't turn on.
You know what? One of the reasons why I hate it so much, it reminds me of a fucking Joss Whedon movie.
Oh man, you're
quips,
right.
The fucking quips,
dude. It's
make
like
me
you're
so
right.
furious.
That's Serenity before Serenity.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I like Serenity, but goddamn, dude, that doesn't fit in Star Trek.
No, it doesn't.
Wow, what the fuck? I don't know what's wrong with that movie. I still can't figure it out. I've been trying to like meditate on it for a while, but it's just I think it's the worst.
So it's number 10 for you.
Number 10. I fucking hate that movie.
All right, and so the last movie of the prime timeline, I guess is what we're going to call it. The last movie of the prime timeline is
Nemesis.
Nemesis, and that is where the Romulans clone Picard to look like Bane.
Tom Hardy is
Captain Picard. I'm your clone.
and he's got a weeb name.
Oh God, what is it?
His name is
Shinjan. Shinjan, yeah. And so
Shinzon,
Shinzon. He comes from Remus, which is the planet next to Romulus, I guess, where they mine dilithium too, or something.
Yeah. So there's twin planets. There's the Romulans and the Remans. They're very distinctly different species.
Which is weird that these aliens would name their planet after Greek gods.
I thought
Earth.
that also was weird. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, but I mean the Vulcan, they do that too. So
yeah, they do. But yeah, so when they abandoned the project to clone and then replace Picard, this little boy gets abandoned, and he basically grows up in the dilithium mines with a bunch of remans, and one of them takes care of him, and ends up being his viceroy, who ends up being a psychic rapist.
So that whole storyline very similar to Batman Returns, Bane's story in that.
Batman Returns.
Is that what it is?
The Dark Knight.
The
Returns.
Dark Knight Returns. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Returns.
Kinda.
Where Tom Hardy has to take care of Talia al Ghul.
That's true.
Kind of
That's
the same,
true.
Kind of the same deal. Maybe
Pay it forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Paid it forward.
Exactly. He was taken care of, so he took care of somebody else.
That's right.
Yeah. So the psychic rapist who thinks Troy's pretty hot.
Yeah. Well,
then-
Shinzon's the one that wants to fuck her, but he fucks her
Right,
mentally through
Yeah. He touches him, and then he mentally touches her.
touching me.
Touching you. Yeah. So
Sweet Shinzon.
So
Captain Picard.
Shinjan's got this ship with like Tholion radiation or something like that.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Actually, I think it's
Thalaron.
Thalaron
radiation.
Thalaron
yeah,
radiation. or
which
something.
if it even touches, and that's right, they did that in the Romulan Senate in the very beginning. Yeah, they
which
killed
actually
all
was
the
a cool
senators.
scene.
It was a cool scene.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and then so the dune buggy. That's right. That has the
the
Argus, I think is what it's called. Is it
the Argo?
The Argo.
Yeah.
So you see this dune buggy in the shuttle bay, which let's take technology backwards. Why not? No big deal.
Fuck it.
And I really feel like it was just going to be used as like a throwaway shot or something on when they were going to pick up B4, which
we'll get to that.
Yeah, fucking garbage character. So I'm pretty sure that Patrick Stewart saw that thing and he was like, "No, I've got to drive it," because you got fucking Picard going on an away mission first of all, which is
Captain's prerogative.
Captain's prerogative. Oh, I've been itching to try out the new Argo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know that the captain doesn't go on an away mission, and one as mundane as this. Like, I don't know. It was dumb. It was convoluted. It was stupid.
They were moving into the whole like everything is Picard and Data territory. They had already started to move a little bit into that with First Contact, and they had such a huge success at that I could see why they would want to try and keep going, but it doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't fucking work in this. So they got to go find they detect positronic matrix or some shit like that, and it's another Sung android like Data and Lore, but this one is called B4. He's all janky. And he barely fucking works, and he's an idiot.
He's really dumb.
Yeah, the whole concept of it is actually really stupid. But that was a plant by Shake and Bake.
Yeah.
And it was all a convoluted plot so that he could penetrate the Enterprise's systems.
Well, that was how he was going to abduct Picard. He used the android to abduct Picard because he needed like a blood transfusion with Picard to be able to keep living or something like that.
Yeah. So Shuriken is like, I need Picard's blood because I'm dying because I'm a shitty clone.
Right. They didn't build me very well.
Yeah. And so Shredder abducts him, takes him onto the fucking stupid ship.
And then they fly out of it with a shuttle or something, right?
Yeah. And some like little attack craft thing, which was it was okay. How long are the fucking corridors in this stupid ship? And are they all wide enough to accommodate like an attack shuttle?
Right.
Also, if there are attack shuttles with all these like big fucking phaser cannons and shit, why don't they use them when they're attacking the Enterprise?
Right, as like little fighter jets.
Yeah.
Which is something that you do see them do more of in Discovery.
Yeah,
so
I mean, there's that at least. That's something interesting from Discovery. That's
progressing backwards from that point.
It's one thing,
right? That's the only thing. So yeah, it was entertaining for me. I really liked. So spoiler alert for those of you that don't know, Data dies in this movie, but then doesn't really die when you go back and watch Picard.
Yeah,
it was pretty shocking for me to see it in the theater.
Sure.
It was the first death of a Next Generation character since Yar, really.
Yeah.
Like of a main character.
Sure.
And it was Data. One of the characters that, I think Data and Picard are the two that. I mean, they're the top two for the Next Generation. There's no question about that.
As far as like most people's fandom and shit, yeah, I would agree. And you know what? So I feel like Insurrection fucked up so bad that they realized that they were only going to get one more movie,
Yeah,
and that's why they killed off Data.
it could be. Yeah, that could be.
To really seal it off, because like nobody's gonna watch another fucking Next Generation movie without Data,
Right.
unless it's gonna be The Search for Data.
Oh
Which
God.
maybe they were gonna do that because he downloads all of his shit into B4.
Right. I think that's why they were leaving it open is so that they could make B4 into Data for the next movie if it came about.
But the thing is, to have a successful progression, you need to be as like good as The Wrath of Khan, and it wasn't. It wasn't that good.
Yeah.
It's not terrible.
It's not
though.
terrible. I ranked it number 3, which is pretty high.
Wait, number 3?
I know. Yeah. So I got to that point, and like 3 was the only number I had left, man. I ranked them all in different ways, like as I was going through.
Oh my God.
So like I said, I like that storyline where Data saves Picard.
Sure.
And isn't this the movie where in the beginning of it they're holding some diplomatic thing, and they're all like, "Remember when we used to be explorers?" Like, is that that one or?
I think that actually is that one. Yeah,
and
It's-
like that
'cause
kind of harkens
Riker
back
and
to
Troy are going to be getting
Right.
they're getting married. They get married.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of harken back to the Next Generation for me a little bit. It wasn't like I don't really like the Tom Hardy stuff, but there's other things about the movie that I liked.
I didn't really like the Tom Hardy plotline necessarily because like the whole most of the movie is a battle that's pretty boring.
Yes.
But I do like Tom Hardy as an actor a lot.
No, he's a good actor. And he's okay.
He's okay in this. Yeah, he's okay. He's better than probably anybody else would have been because
Sure,
it's not a good role.
And honestly, like as far as the acting in the movie, like who acts the best, he probably does the best acting in the movie.
Yeah, probably.
He's a new character that's never been, and everybody else is playing their characters that have been established for 10
Sure.
plus years. So I think that he does a pretty good job, and obviously it's before he gets super built because Tom Hardy is built these days.
Big fucking guy. I guess one of the reasons why this movie disappoints me so much, I mean, aside from just like the Data shit, which is, well, not Data, but like the B4 stuff, which is dog shit.
Right.
It's just that it's a really shitty send off for Next Generation.
It is.
And it hurts,
It is.
Sucks.
It's not a great send off. But like I said, I liked Data sacrificing himself for Picard. I thought that was a pretty cool scene.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, this is number 8 for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good movie. I don't,
So-
I got to that point where like I like some of the original crew movies, but they're not my favorite. Like I've always been more into the Next Generation. So I felt like it would be kind of disingenuous to only put one of the Next Generation movies in my top 5.
Yeah. Well, I
so-
mean, for the main thing for me too is like I grew up at the same time that I started really loving Next Generation. I was watching the original series movies because my brother was 12 years older than me, so he was an original Trek fan and he was a huge fan of the movies. So I watched the movies a lot, whole lot. The original series movies.
I don't think that I saw any of the original series movies until I was an adult. Like I think that I saw all of the Next Generation movies before I saw maybe Wrath of Khan and maybe the original movie.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
I think
Okay.
that all the rest of them I had to go out and seek out when I was an adult.
All right, you should
So-
read your list from number 1 to number 10.
Okay.
I need to get a perspective.
No,
on
that's
this.
fine. So number 1 is First Contact.
Mhm.
Number 2 is Wrath of Khan. Number 3 is Nemesis. Which, whatever, man. Number 4 is The Voyage Home. Number 5 is Search for Spock. Number 6 is Insurrection. Number 7 is The Motion Picture, which I'm sure that really just gets Jeff's goat that I think that Insurrection is a better movie than The Motion Picture. But
It does. It really does.
number 8 is The Undiscovered Country because it bored the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Number 9 is Generations because God, what a dog shit movie. And number 10 is Bill Shatner's baby, The Final Frontier.
Okay. I've got Undiscovered Country because I'm apparently a diplomacy and subterfuge nerd. First Contact, of course. Voyage Home because I just find it very, very enjoyable. Then Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock. Motion Picture is better than Generations. Nemesis is worse than Generations. Then Final Frontier and Insurrection, I think, is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, got a little bit of time left over. I guess we could talk about
Just a little bit, yeah.
Talk about the bad robot movies here real quick. So,
I think our rankings are going to be pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think we already went over that. We know that our rankings for the bad robot movies are the same. So there's Star Trek 2009, which came out first.
Right.
Star Trek Into Darkness, which goes way down into darkness, and then Star Trek Beyond. So Star Trek Beyond, out of the three, is number one for me.
Same.
It feels the most like an actual Star Trek episode. I think we talked about it maybe last episode, how it feels like the only one that they actually took anything from the existing Star Trek universe. They took Mako, and they took the whatever class starship that the NX-01 was.
I can even forgive them underutilizing Idris Elba.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't do great. And then there was that whole scene with the motorbike where like Kirk was riding a motorcycle, which was really kind of dumb.
Yeah.
And then I also don't like that they So I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan. Like I love the Beastie Boys.
Me too.
I think that they're great. I'll listen to them anytime. It was kind of cool that they put Sabotage in the first movie. The fact that they used Sabotage again, I thought was really convoluted.
Yeah.
Like out of all of the media that exists in the 23rd century or whatever, how are you going to reuse the same like 200-year-old song? And like maybe it has special meaning to him or whatever, but you saw that she was like in the first scene where they established that she's listening to old Earth music.
Right.
She's listening to other bands, other songs.
Right.
Could have used some of that, but
Rage Against the Machine.
Right? That would have been perfect.
That would have been awesome. That would have been great. Nah, they got to reuse that. They
they
have the
reuse-
license already.
Yeah. They don't want to have to pay for it again or whatever.
Something.
After that, 2009, the reboot, because like it was still okay. It was watchable for me. You know,
It's watchable. It's got the original Spock in it, and the whole plot line of like the Romulan supernova is a compelling idea.
Yes,
It's a compelling story, and Spock getting thrown back in time. The whole red matter thing I think is interesting. Eric Bana as Nero is great, actually.
Yeah,
I think he's really good.
he was really good. If not underused a little bit.
Sure, yeah. I think
so-
I think Eric Bana is way underutilized in general anyway.
Sure.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. And then
But there are problems with that movie too.
oh yeah, absolutely. But we're not going to go too far into that because that's not what this episode is about.
Yeah.
And then obviously Into Darkness was the worst out of the three.
Having just recently gone back and watching that again with you, I have to revise my original feelings on it because I remembered it very fondly. I like Boomple Snoot Frumple Dumple quite a lot as an actor. And I think there are parts of his performance as Khan that I thought were pretty good, but it's not when you try and compare it against like Khan, Ricardo Montalban, it's like, nah, dude.
That was Arian Khan. That was Khan Smith, not Khan Singh.
yeah. There's that aspect to
Khan
it too.
Chester Smith.
Yeah. And the plots in it are very convoluted. And the enemy ship is very much a bigger, better kind of thing.
So I called it I can't remember what I called it on the last episode when we were talking about it, but since we went back and watched it, it was the USS Vengeance.
Vengeance,
It was
right,
the USS Vengeance.
right.
I think I called it like the USS Executor or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty damn close. It was the same kind of like we got to make our subtle point with the name of the starship. You know?
Right. I do like the character design or creature design for the Klingons still. I think they're pretty badass.
It was really cool. They had those helmets that they were wearing and stuff like that. Yeah, they did really good with the Klingons, but they were in one scene.
Oh no, and that's why it actually makes it almost worse is because like they're pretty great and they're just goofy fodder.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Nobody gave a shit about Spock and Uhura dating.
yeah,
Like-
that was weird.
And then they're like fighting during the movie, and you're like, why?
Yeah,
Who
why?
cares?
I don't care. I hate that like it's so overpowered because now Khan can teleport all over the place and his blood can cure the death and like it's just really shitty like weak writing and it seems really dumb. There's one thing about that movie though, after on rewatching it, that I actually really, really love, and I think it's very special.
It's Carol Marcus's boobs, you guys.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. Okay, two things.
Okay.
All right.
Two things.
Yeah. The scene with Chris Pine. It is Chris Pine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kirk realigning the warp core and then him dying. okay, Zachary Quinto going Khan! That part not good. It's very clowny. But Chris Pine's performance and the way they shot him desperately trying to get the ship running again, very good.
Okay. I don't have a problem with his performance at all. I have a problem with I guess it would be the director or whoever was in charge, because he's literally kicking down on this gigantic ass cylinder to get it to go sideways.
To get it to go side. Yeah. That was kind of bugging me a little bit too, but I don't know. I it didn't bother me it was irritating me. And I was actually almost ruined. The scene was almost ruined for me. But then like Chris Pine, like he doesn't die nobly. I mean, what he did was noble, but he doesn't die nobly. Like in Wrath of Khan, like Spock is like, I'll always be your friend, blah blah blah. Chris Pine as Kirk is like, I'm scared, and then fucking dies,
which is awesome. I mean, like honestly, if Kirk were gonna be, if the original Kirk were gonna be, I mean, it's probably the same kind of deal,
Yeah. I mean, you're human, and your fucking DNA is being shredded by radiation.
Right.
Yeah, you don't die noble. You're not a fucking Vulcan.
Yeah, no, the performances weren't bad, but like the story was terrible.
The writing was just awful. Yeah, it was terrible. It
was really bad.
So
yeah, that's our rankings on the Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty happy about it. I'm glad that we chose this for like the second episode, because it's something that's like, I thought it was going to be a lot simpler to do, but this is actually kind of torture for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, to rank, to put them
Oh
up
no,
against each
it was
other.
not easy for me either. In fact, like my rankings, they probably only reflect how I feel right now. And
Sure.
like a year ago and maybe a year from now, my rankings might be completely different. But right now, in this moment of time, these are my rankings.
Well, I mean, we're going to finish the Final Frontier, so it might be your number one after
God,
this.
it will never be my number one. Mark my words. It will never be any higher than maybe someday Final Frontier will take the number 9 spot.
Maybe.
But like
maybe after the Discovery movie comes out.
God no. God no.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
or the Picard movie.
So yeah, we're gonna be going into kind of Discovery and Picard and stuff like that in the future. But I will say, just because it's relevant to when we're going to release this episode, there have been whisperings that season 3 of Discovery was the last season.
Really?
Yeah. So apparently there's a website that lists like productions for union actors, and I can't remember what the website is called, but Discovery season 4 was on that website, and it has since been taken down.
Wow.
Also, something that I noticed, and I didn't really think about it, but something that I noticed, the very last episode of Discovery in season 3 had it had a very final feel to it, first of all. And they also, at the very end of the episode, in text on the screen, came a Gene Roddenberry quote. And I can't remember what the quote was, but it was very
ominous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was something that they put at like the end of either another movie or another series or something like that.
That's strange.
It may not be coming back. It may.
Dude, if it has less seasons than Enterprise, man.
Right?
That's wild. On the topic of Discovery, though, before we go, we are going to be recording here very soon our very first not live, but like commentary track.
Right. It'll be commentary to the point where you can play the episode of Discovery at home, because obviously we're not going to be watching it and you can watch it. We're just going to do the audio commentary, so you can play us on your computer while you play Discovery on your television.
And we'll detail up like exactly how to sync, and then that way you can play our audio track while you're watching the episode and hear us trash the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, praise how much we love it.
And talk about how great it is. But you can definitely laugh and drink along with us, because those will definitely be drinking episodes for sure.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So yeah, that'll definitely be coming. It may be the next episode or the episode after.
Yeah, we're still trying to iron out like we're trying to iron out the flow of like how we're going to release these, and like, are we going to put these out? And then like 1 week we do our commentary, 1 week we do the podcast. Like, we're still trying to work it out and whatnot.
Yeah. And as of the time of recording this, the first episode, last week's episode, is actually just went live today.
Yep.
And I will be. I mean, I know that you're YouTube pro, so you're going to be interacting with people and stuff like that.
Sure.
Well, obviously, not all the episodes are going to be released on YouTube, but like anywhere that anybody wants to comment on them, if you want to send us a message on Twitter or something like that, I'm going to try to be pretty good about being interactive with people. So if you've got something you want to shout out to us, or something you want us to say, or something that you think that we said wrong, or you disagree with our rankings, or any of that kind of stuff, unless this gets like so big that we're not able to handle it, I have no problem interacting with people.
Sure. Yeah, and if you're
Looking
listening
forward
to this on somewhere other than YouTube, this is hosted up on my World of Holiday YouTube channel, and where we have currently applications in to go to other like podcasting applications. And
right.
things like
Yeah.
that.
It's all still pretty new, but we're trying to get it out there. So
Sure. Yeah.
Be able to interact with people and see what people have to say about it.
And more people can experience Eject the Core.
Eject the core.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will be back probably next week. So take care. See you next time.
Bye.